Oh my God. I've just been going through some old emails. Jesus, Mary and Joseph. See, I've literally had to do everything I was told, knowing that everything I did and everyone I got involved in it was going to be a test. I had to see whether these people could be trusted. I had to see whether I could trust them, whether God could trust them, whether, yeah. I'm looking at some of these emails I've sent in the past, and it's like, and some of these messages that I've put out on X and all of that, and the people I've gotten involved in witnessing it, and it's like, what the hell was I doing? What the hell did God make me do? It's like, I was given so many potentials of roads to go down, so many choices, so many options, and I had to trust every single one of them that I was opening up to, not knowing whether they were going to be my future or not, whether they were going to have a larger role to play in my life or not, whether they were going to betray me or not, whether they were going to betray God or not knowing really what the hell I was doing. None of it made sense. None of it made sense. But I had to trust the process, because then what happened was I got to see everyone's true colours, depending on how they dealt with what I was doing. Because these were people I was reaching out to help for, trying to support, like trying to keep alive, trying to keep from walking into battlefields they wouldn't have been able to win otherwise. When you're an oracle, when you see things that don't make sense to anybody else, the biggest test of faith is trusting the people with the things that you see, knowing they don't see the same things, knowing they don't see, like one of the biggest things with me is that people are like the being a time jumper. I live the experience before it's happened, but for me it's like it's already happened. I'm living in it like it's happening, and it doesn't make sense to anybody else, but it does to me, and it will in the future when time aligns. I've played a very, very dangerous game with some people who could have made things a lot worse. Putting myself out there, like leaving myself vulnerable and exposed to see how the people would handle it, knowing that everybody knows my story, that I got locked up because my husband, I keep saying husband, ex-husband said I was crazy. I had to walk a tightrope of trust and faith, putting it all out there whether it made sense or not, knowing it was part of the process. And I'm looking back at some of these things that I've posted, and it's just embarrassing. I'm embarrassed. Because it's like, my God. But the thing is, how can I explain it? I know I've explained it before, but inside everything that I write is an algorithm that you can't see, like a binary code, like a binary system. Everything I write, it might not make any sense. It might sound completely nuts. It might sound off the wall, friggin' doolally, like friggin' complete and utter nonsense, like just completely insane. But then what happens is divine timing will play out, times will align, and inside the things that I've written, I see hidden codes, like, you know, that Elon Musk picture that he put up with the Project Noah's Ark. How by looking at that picture that he posted in 2020, I was able to decipher the whole they've stolen the gold, underground buried cities, planning the floods, Project Noah's Ark. From one picture. Well, the stuff I post is exactly the same. It's like it's you know, like the Matrix. There's codes inside the Matrix. And I'll put stuff out there where I know people are thinking, she's friggin' nuts. But then something will happen where I'll pull it back out, and I'll see things in it that are so spot on that it blows people's minds. Because it's like, with the occult, the word occult means knowledge of the hidden. What I write isn't the alchemy, it's the codes I pull from what's hidden in the words. I've said some pretty, oh my God, how embarrassing. But I had to trust the process. I had to trust it. Everything I said ended up bringing me clarity. Everything I said ended up making sense in a way that was going to help humanity. But I had to figure out the system. I had to know, like, for example, looking at some of the stuff I've said to Vladimir Putin and King Charles, and like the ICC and, you know, various other people, Thomas Massey, Rand Paul, all that sort of thing, the people that I've brought into this whole process for me, I had to know if they could be trusted. Because it's hard to explain. I don't know what I'm going to see until I see it, because I either manifest it or it's fed to me, the codes, like the Queen Elizabeth codes. And when I put stuff out there, I don't necessarily, I mean, as you know, I don't understand immediately what it is that I'm putting out there until divine timing comes into play. So everyone said I was nuts about the child trafficking and, you know, the Super Bowl thing, Project Noah's Ark and that, and then all the, you know, the code started dropping, time started aligning, and everything made perfect sense. But it's like, because atoms are fractals, basically, and time is fractulated, when I see something, you know, okay, choices and decisions have an infinite amount of possibilities, and until you make that choice or that decision, time isn't linear. It happens simultaneously, and it's ever expanding, and time just keeps expanding. But when we as individuals make our choices and decisions, that's when our timeline is woven into the fabric of time. And then we become the fabric of time, but in a linear space. Time isn't linear until we make choices and decisions. And then it fractulates. And what happens with your choice and decision has an infinite amount of possibilities that come off it. So for every choice and decision that every animal, every human, every plant, every atom chooses to make, it affects everything else in the universe and weaves a separate thread in the fabric of time, which is why time is infinite. And if you look behind you, you'll just see a vast expanse of time made up of individual threads woven into the fabric to create a evolutionary existence of time that expands infinitely, made up from individual choices and decisions. But every choice and decision has an infinite amount of possibilities that don't get pulled into existence until you make the choice or decision. So if you look behind you, time is infinite and ever expanding. But if you look in front of you, it's pinpoint accurate, laser focused, linear. I'm having that person, I'm doing this, I'm eating that, I'm going here, and what you do, like the butterfly effect, every choice and decision you make has a knock-on effect for everybody else involved. And so when I see stuff, I think I'm going down that path. I think that's where I'm supposed to be going because that's where I'm heading, and I've made the decision to do that, and I made the choice to say that. But I know that I don't know where that's going to lead until I see how the other people react and respond to it, which then is like my GPS system. It tells me the next step, the next stage to go to, based on the reactions of the people around me. They can choose to not say anything. They can choose to block me. They can choose to stand back and just witness what I'm doing. They can choose to have me arrested, sue me, lock me up, kill me. Infinite amount of choices and possibilities. Ridicule me, mock me. But that's where the test of faith comes in. I have to trust that everything I say and everything I do is in God's hands. And that's what I used to say to my students. Everything I say and do is a test. And it's true even to this day. Everything I say and do is a test. If I say this, how are you going to react? If I say this, how are you going to respond? Because I've said some stuff that I know people will be like, oh my God, what the hell's she going on about? But then it makes perfect sense. But then there's things that I've said where it's like people didn't respond the way they should have responded. Like when I went to the police in regards to what happened with Yodok Cello, and they didn't do anything. I reported a crime and they didn't do anything. I reported a crime to the FBI and they didn't do anything. In regards to Donald Trump as well, and they didn't do anything. I reported the gold being stolen and they didn't do anything. But then I've also put my gift out there. Like I've gone to people when I've been standing in time, choosing which fractal to go down, to see, like, is that the path I'm supposed to go down? Is that who I'm supposed to be with? Is that where I'm meant to be? Is that what I'm meant to do? Is that where I'm meant to go? Having no clue, like walking on a cliff's edge and just diving off and taking the leap of faith that what I'm saying and what I'm doing is going to make sense eventually. Even though to the people witnessing it or receiving it won't have a bloody clue what the hell's going on or what the hell I'm talking about. And I've said some pretty, because I don't know what I'm seeing until time aligns. And as a time jumper, as someone who works in the physics of time theory, it's quite terrifying. I'm supposed to have my counterpart to keep me flying on the straight and narrow. Otherwise, it's like the atoms ricochet. It's like trying to catch lightning in a bottle so that you can observe it. It's dangerous. It can burn you real bad. And it has done too. Trusting the wrong people, or, you know, like I was saying, I think in my don't go down the elevator dream, I think a couple of people in those elevators, in that elevator dream, might have been Vladimir Putin and King Charles. They didn't listen. They didn't trust the process. And it's, you know, like I need to make this perfectly clear. I love Vladimir Putin with all my heart. I love King Charles with all my heart. But they made their choices. And the choices that they made has pushed me out of the picture. There's nothing more I can do. It's reached a dead end. It can't go any further because the choices they made were decisions that ensured that I couldn't be a part of their process anymore. And I'm seeing the stuff that's been said about the royal family, and it's just utterly heartbreaking because it's everything I warned him that was going to happen if he didn't listen. The stuff that has been said about the Queen. There's a woman who's a survivor, Maria Farmer, I think her name is. She's done a painting of the Queen, and the Queen's dead on the throne and blah, blah, blah. And people are saying, you know, oh, the Queen is a reptile. And, you know, the woman is wearing the red shoes, and if you know what the red shoes mean, and she's punching the Queen, I think, and the Queen's wearing a robe that's got like MI6, Mossad, blah, blah, blah. And people are saying, oh, she's saying that the Queen was a lizard, and I mean, the mentality of some people to think that there's reptilians walking the planet is, I've already explained the truth about that. But what I'm seeing in that painting is the murder of the Queen and the people responsible for her murder. So people are saying it's Prince Andrew in the corner, but personally I think it's Keir Starmer. It says sweat and piss at his feet. And Keir Starmer was famous as a kid at school for wetting his pants. I personally think that it's an admission of the murder of the Queen. She had nothing to do with Mossad. She was famously anti-Israeli. So I think, personally, it's an admission of the murder of the Queen. But people are reading it the other way. I think that it's whether she knows it or not, this Epstein survivor, she's out in the conspiracy to destroy the monarchy. And how they've been using the conspiracy theories to do it. The whole point of bringing the royal family into the Epstein thing was for the purpose of what they're doing right now. And I warned the king and he didn't listen. The stuff I say and do might not make sense. It might sound absolutely crazy. I might have things going on in my head that seem phantasmagorical, that seem like fantasist. that seem completely outrageous or like out of this world, but it will always make sense eventually. Am I supposed to be with that person? Is this person, I've never seen that person as being someone I could end up with, but is that him I'm seeing? Because if the codes kind of match, I have to investigate it. I have to see if that's what it is I'm seeing. It's like I'm trying to find a needle in a haystack blindfolded in the dark and having to feel my way around every and all situation and trusting that the people that are bought into it are going to put me on the path that I'm supposed to be on eventually. And I have to throw caution to the wind and just hope and pray that it doesn't backfire or affect me in any kind of negative way. Because until I healed myself and I detoxed from all the poisons that were ravaging my body, the fact that I was starved, the fact that I was put in a hypervigilant mode for survival, the fact that my body took nearly 3 years to get used to eating food without being allergic to everything. I had to fight so much at the same time as being fed these codes, not knowing what the hell the result was going to be or why I was doing it, but having to trust the process anyway. And I'm looking back at some of these emails and tweets that I've put out and videos that I've put up, and I'm like, oh my God, I can see clearly now, but I couldn't back then. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I have a kaleidoscope mind because atoms are just like a kaleidoscope. And some people look exactly the same as some of the codes I see. And so I've had to take a leap of faith and trust it, and trying to figure out, does that code match that person? Like with my spellbound algorithm, I've got it down to it. I'm pretty sure I'm 100% accurate with my algorithm now that I've figured it out. But there's been times where, like options in love, for example, some codes have matched perfectly from the dream I had as a little kid that was leading me to the man I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. And then it turned out to be not that the codes were wrong, it was the wrong reflection in the kaleidoscope. You know, if you know what a kaleidoscope looks like, just because there's red fractals doesn't mean that they're exactly the same. Light bends, and so do codes. And there's been so many times, like Martin, I would have sworn black and blue. He was the person that I had been dreaming about ever since I was a little girl. He fit so much of the codes. But then so did Chris. But then so did a couple of other people. And then it turned out not to be the case. But I had to take the chance just in case they were. Taking a leap of faith is risky and dangerous and terrifying. But when you just go, oh, bugger it, and just like throw caution to the wind, like tits to the wind, and just jump, when you land at the bottom, it all makes sense and it's all worthwhile. Because I would have sworn black and blue. I mean, I was determined, come hell or high water, I was getting to America. And then it was Canada. and then it was Russia, you know. And I spent so long thinking, where the hell am I supposed to go? Like, because it's like every time I approach, the door gets shut. Every time I felt like I was a boar hair away from walking through the gates into Russia, it would slam, and I couldn't understand why. But now I know, and it's nothing personal with Vladdy or anything like that, because I will always love him, always support him, always defend him. But he chose a path that involves Donald Trump, and I can't go down that path. I can't have anything to do with it. But he made his choice, and I have to respect that. I don't know what that means for him or anything like that, because he's no longer part of my process. He's no longer part of my journey. And the same thing with King Charles. He's made his decision. He didn't dissolve Parliament. So now he's got to face the consequences. He made his choice, and there's nothing more I can do. But in being freed up from all of that, from being freed up from that obligation and responsibility, it made me see where I'm, my true path. And it was slowly creeping in, Switzerland, Switzerland, Switzerland. And I'm utterly convinced now, and I even said it on X, that when I thought I was going to Canada, I think maybe it's because I was seeing the red and white flag, seeing the red background with the white, and thinking it was Canada. But it was actually Switzerland. Because when it was popping into my head, it's kind of like God was saying, like, have you thought about this? Like, reconsider Switzerland. In spite of the whole Yodok Cello thing, reconsider Switzerland. And I'd said on Twitter, like in 2024, I think it was, I'm wondering whether I mistook the Canada flag for the Swiss flag. So in looking at it again, everything came into view, and I realised the more I looked at it, the more at peace my heart felt, the more happier I felt, the more emotional it made me feel, because I'd fallen in love. And now there's no other place in the world I'd rather be. No place I'd rather be. No, 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 no. No place I'd rather be. When I am with you, there's no place I'd rather be. Ever since I chose Switzerland, I feel like I'm floating on air. I feel free, I feel liberated, I feel light. I'm unburdened, because now everything makes sense. When I look at the stuff that I sent out that's embarrassing, a little bit humbling and humiliating, to be honest, because of the risk that I took, it's because I thought these were paths I was supposed to be going down. Wires were getting crossed. Things that I was seeing coming into view getting crossed with other things. And I'm just so glad I bloody survived it. I'm so embarrassed. If I could do maths, none of this would even have been a problem. I would have just been able to do algorithms on the blackboard, and that would have been it. But because my maths is language, oh, how embarrassing. But it was a trust exercise for me and for them. Some of them passed, some of them didn't. But I was thinking, my Tell Vladdy Bye dream, that was really for real. I really am saying goodbye. I've had to give up on a dream. I'll always love the country. I'll always love the people. I will always love the president. I will always love King Charles. I will always love the memories of Great Britain and that, but it's time to go. It's time to go in my own direction. It's time to follow my own path. Some of the stuff that I've put out there, if it comes back to haunt me, I'll just have to own up to the responsibility and say, well, yeah, no, I figured that out. That's why I made the video. But this is why I did it, and this is why it happened. And I'm so grateful that I didn't end up going down that path. Being blocked and stuff ended up being a good thing, because it stopped me from making a bigger fool of myself, and it stopped me from going down a dangerous path. I'd rather be in Switzerland where the World Economic Forum is and Davos have their meetings where I can keep an eye on the enemy than be somewhere like Moscow where I don't know where Trump, aka Lucifer, has his tentacles. Unseen forces. Because he's got his fingers in a lot of oligarch pies that ends up having an effect on Vladimir Putin and the government, and I just can't risk that for the children. So, just like having to give up on my dream of going to America, I've had to give up on my dream of going to Russia. The two places that I've loved ever since I was a little girl. However, having said that, I also did do that project in Switzerland, even though I got the cheese wrong the other day. I said I took Edam and it was bloody Swiss. It was just a little wheel of it. But the clues were there. I always say, we as children show us our future. As adults, we show us what's going to make us happy when we're children. Because we're, the younger you are, the closer you are to God. The more pure and innocent you are. And so we see everything. So we as children show ourselves what's going to make us happy as adults. And I did that project in Switzerland. While I was writing scripts with my sister and pretending to do talkback radio. So that's the path I'm going down. I've made a fool of myself. I've embarrassed myself. I've had to be the clown on the world stage in order to shed my layers. But look at the universe I've created as a result. It raised me up. It grew me up. It made me more mature. It made me be more careful with the things I say and how I come across. It was all a lesson. I had to trust the process. I saw people's true colours. I saw the truth of my reality, and then I got to align it with my existence. Because then I became in control of the thread that I wove into the fabric of my timeline. And it's created the beautiful tapestry that is waiting for me to be hung in the wall of Switzerland. So, anyway, reflections. Bloody hell. I've played a very dangerous game. Ever since my blog, I've played a very, very dangerous game with some of the most powerful people in the world. But I had to do it because I had to trust the process. Because God said, have faith. Just trust the process. Just have faith in me. That's what he said when I got, just before I got locked up. Just do everything I say. Just do everything I tell you to do. And I promise you won't regret it when you come out the other side. That's what he said. Don't question anything. Just move. Don't question it. If I tell you to say something, say it. If I tell you to do something, do it. Regardless of how people react to it, regardless of how crazy or insane it's going to look, just do what I say and say what I say. And it's all going to make sense in the end. And then it did. But my God, did I play a dangerous game. It's like Russian roulette, literally. But here we are. So now I say adieu to the wonderful Vladimir Putin, my partner in crime, my work husband for a bit there. Rescuing the children together was a great honour for me. But it's time to say goodbye. And it's time to say farewell to King Charles. His working with his mother has been the greatest experience of my life. The codes that came out of his family's bloodline completely revolutionised physics for me, and it helped take Elon Musk down and Donald Trump and Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer, whether he likes it or not, he's on his way out. It's all coming down because of Queen Elizabeth, which is why I will not tolerate anybody saying that she's an evil reptile, because she ended up helping me save the world. But there's nothing more I could do. Like, there's nothing here for me. I can't grow anymore here. And it's time for me to go. Hopefully I'll get to visit Russia one day with the kids, do some recording. If I can, maybe my talent show will end up going that far, I don't know, but I'll definitely visit one day. And of course we're going to welcome kids from Russia, so it'll always be there. I'll have kids from Great Britain too coming to stay. It's time to go. Time to say goodbye. Right, I'm going to go. Just get ready, Switzerland, because here I come. Ka kite anō. Mwah.